My next guest became the Combat FC Bantamweight champion when he got a knockout victory over Jake Pilla at Combat FC 5. He'll be defending his title on May 24th at Combat FC 7, and he joins me right now. His name's John Douma. John, welcome to the program, sir. Champ,
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have champions on the show, and you are the Combat FC champion. And,
Sure.
I looked at you, John, and nothing in this fighting business has come easy to you. Like, you fought the who's who, you fought all over throughout the entire East Coast, and you were on a 2-fight skid going into that title fight against Jake Pilla. And I kind of wanted to ask you, John, like, going into that fight, where was your mind at, like, getting ready to fight a guy like Jake Pilla? Because you're talking about a guy who was being kind of like built up as like that next big thing coming out of New England. And can you just kind of walk me through just where you're at headspace wise going into that fight at Combat FC 5?
It wasn't really that bad. Like, I took those 2 losses, but they weren't like terrible losses. They were both decisions. They're 2 super high level guys. I kind of knew where I stood. And I knew where Jake stood at the time. I was pretty confident in taking the fight. And then afterwards, I found out it was going to be a title fight. So, I just had gotten out of one. I was kind of used to the 5 rounds. So that just made sense for me at the time.
Jake Pilla, he was an interesting guy. Like, I think of Jake Pilla, I think about somebody who wants to grapple with you. I think about somebody who's definitely a submission threat. Can you tell me, like, what was your game plan when you were going up against a guy like that? Because I'm sure you knew that's exactly where he wanted the fight. And when the fight actually came about, it didn't really work out that way for him.
Yeah. We were kind of ready for everything. Jake was like, he's one of those guys that's he's good everywhere and he's not afraid to do everything everywhere. I just figured, I would be able to challenge him in all that stuff. So, won't put it to the test.
John, you were able to end that fight in the first round. I'm not surprised that you won the fight, but I'm surprised at how quick you were able to figure out how you wanted to go for that knockout finish. And can you kind of walk me through how exactly you were able to set that up? I saw clips of it. I saw highlights of it. You look very fast. You look very strong. What was it that you saw that made you kind of go all in for that knockout?
I started landing some good shots, and you could tell they were starting to affect him a little bit more and more. Towards the end there, I think I hit him with a head kick. I kind of knew he was a little bit dazed, and it's just kind of when I went after it.
How much did that mean to you to like get the belt at this stage in your career? Because again, like, nothing's been handed to you. You've been fighting all over the East Coast. You've taken tough fights, and now you fought a formidable opponent, one of the top prospects in New England. What did it feel like getting that belt at the end of the night?
It was good, man. It was kind of like a I told you so moment. I always knew how good I was, getting everybody else on board, and a title. It doesn't mean a ton to me, but it does mean a lot to other people. So they see me as a champion. Put a little bit more respect on my name.
John, you have cut your teeth. You've been around for a very long time. You've been a professional since 2017. And I always like to, I know you're a young dude. I know you're not even 30. I know you got a lot of fighting left in you. But I'm also comfortable calling you a veteran. I know it sounds weird because I just said you're a young guy, but you've been around this game for a very long time. You fought in many different promotions. You fought some of the best guys on the East Coast. What has changed about mixed martial arts since you've been competing from 2017, now flash forward all the way to 2024? Do you feel like the game's a lot different now compared to what it was when you first started out in the pro ranks?
Yeah, the best guys aren't necessarily getting the shots anymore. It's sometimes it's the guys that are making the most noise, and that's just is what it is. But the biggest Instagram followings or the biggest, it's not all about the fighting anymore like it used to be. I think that's the biggest, most obvious change right now, and you kind of see it. You see a lot of guys, like me, like have titles in smaller promotions and stuff, and then you see guys that are on UFC cards, and you're like, how did this guy not get on and this guy did? But it's just, then you look at their Instagram, and the guy in the UFC's got so many 100,000 followers, and the other guy has barely any. So it's definitely that's the biggest thing that changed to me, I think.
One of the other more interesting developments in the world of MMA as of late is Bellator and PFL. They've kind of like merged. They become husband and wife, and now they're their own
Yeah.
kind of interesting thing. And you've competed in Bellator in the past. You had a few fights with them, and when you look and you see Bellator and PFL kind of team up and kind of form this like super league, for lack of better terms, is that a good or a bad thing for mixed martial arts, in your opinion?
I think it's good. The only bad thing is for fighters, there's not as many avenues to go. Now that's just kind of turned into one. I think the bigger it gets through any promotion is a good thing, and there it seems like they're throwing a lot of money around, which hopefully will set the bar for other promotions.
Patchy Mix, a guy I'm sure you've heard a little bit about.
Yeah,
He
for
is
sure.
the bantamweight champion for Bellator, and he just successfully defended his title over the course of this weekend. And he says that if I wasn't fighting in Bellator, all you guys would know exactly who I am. And I'm telling
Yeah.
you right now, if I fight Sean O'Malley, I'm going to whip his ass. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's
Mm.
more or less what he said. In your opinion, you look at Patchy Mix, you look at Sean O'Malley, who wins that fight?
That's a tough one, man. I've counted O'Malley out so many times, and he's proven me wrong every time. So I can't like I can't say that definitely patchy mix. I'd like to think so. I think he's definitely more well-rounded, but
Hmm.
dude, I can't ever count O'Malley out. Every time I do, he wins.
Fair enough. And is that something, John, that would interest you? Like you see Patchy Mix, like, more and more people. I do feel like with the merger, like more and more people are starting to talk about contenders that aren't necessarily in the UFC. And I personally think it's a good thing. Would you have any interest in potentially going back to Bellator if you were ever given an opportunity at some point?
Yeah, man. At this point, like you said, I've been fighting for a long time. Spent a lot of money, put a lot of sacrifice into this. Going to the UFC has always been my goal from the beginning, but it comes to a point where you just why do you want to get in the UFC so you can make money fighting? And if I make money fighting anywhere else, then fine. So I'm looking for the most amount of money I can get at this point.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, it makes total sense to me. Won the title at Combat FC 5. That was this past September, and you've been away for a little bit. This will be your first fight back since then, and here we are. It's we're almost halfway through 2024. I know you were supposed to fight in February, and that fight never ended up
Yeah,
materializing.
that
Are
one
you a
sucked.
little? Yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, what happened with that fight against Silva? I know you're supposed to fight in February.
So it was night before weigh-ins, all systems go. I was down to like 137 pounds midweight cut. Um, and I got a call from my manager. It was like midnight that Wednesday. He said, I don't know. He's went to the hospital. He still wants to fight, but he can only do it at 145. And by that point, I was 2 pounds away. Like I was right there. It's not something like, you're a professional. You're trying to come fight for my title. You better come correct. So I was like, it's title fight or nothing. And they kind of scrapped the fight. So that sucks because I went through the whole camp, did the whole thing. Combat FC is awesome because they give you like 10 weeks, 10, 11 weeks. So I took that whole time. Like I was eating meal preps on Christmas. I was really sacrificing there from like right after Thanksgiving to that date in February, and nothing happened. So Combat FC was real good to me about it. Said, all right, I'll get on the next show and defend this title on this one. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
You'll be going up against Ashiek Ajim. This is a guy that I'm sure you've heard a little bit about. You guys have common opponents. What's your opinion of the challenger? What do you make of this guy? Were you surprised when his name was on the bout offer?
No, not surprised at all. I kind of knew, we've both held titles in local promotions, been around. Like we've fought, like you said, a lot of the same guys. So I was kind of knew Ajik's name was going to come across one of these days. So when I did, I got excited. I just got ready for it, watched a bunch of film, came up with some game plans with my coaches, and you know, did the whole camp, and here we are.
And one of the things I noticed, John, like you guys have actually competed on the same card before, and it wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago. Like I think you were the fight after him, or maybe it was the other way around. Like,
Yeah, we
is
were in the same locker room and everything, I think.
and is that kind of weird? Like, you see another guy in your weight class, another guy in New England, you're like, there's going to be a point in time, I think, where our paths cross. May not be next week, may not be next month, but at some point we're going to fight. Like, is that something that ever like runs through your head when you see other people
Yeah,
in your weight
yeah,
class?
definitely, you have to, but, I mean, at the end of the day, we're martial artists, so, you kinda keep true to that, you don't, like, act crazy or anything, you just it's business, it is what it is, and we're gonna fight one day, we see each other, it's whatever.
Tell me a little bit about this guy. Like, what's your opinion of Ajim? Like, do you guys have any common traits? And you look at your game, you look at his. Or do you guys have anything in common, or are you guys very different fighters in your opinion?
I think we're very different, Ajik's, he's very clean, likes to throw, big knockouts from the outside, likes to throw, a lot of, like, 1-2 punches, gets it done, I'm a little bit more ugly, I kinda stay in the pocket and trade and all that kinda stuff, so the night of the fight's gonna be just whoever implements their game plan better.
John, do you believe that you have a grappling advantage over your opponent? I look at this guy; he's had a lot of success with early knockouts. Um, do you feel like the longer that this fight goes on, do you feel like if you're able to employ grappling, wrestling, that's where you're going to have the biggest advantage over your opponent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always confident in my jiu-jitsu, I always see it as a way out of the fight. Um, I think he recently got his black belt too, so
Hmm.
I'm not definitely not, uh, overlooking the whole jiu-jitsu thing, it's something I've really been even though I have a black belt, I'm still working on it day in, day out. So, it's hard to say, I don't there's not a lot of footage of him grappling, and the stuff that there is, he's usually submitting the guy pretty quick. So, I'm coming to expect the best.
Yes, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you tune in. Combat FC7 that happens on May 24th. Are you still selling tickets for this, John? How
I
can
have a
people get?
few left. I'm almost out. I got some front rows left, and I got some general admissions left. So, if anybody needs them, anybody's watching this, please reach out before Wednesday.
Yeah, snooze, you lose. Make sure you
Yeah.
get that done. In fact, by the time I put this out, you should have already bought your tickets. I don't know why you're waiting till the
Yeah,
last
nah,
minute.
listen, everybody waits to the end. That's how it is. When you're the most depleted, when you've cut the most weight and you don't wanna do anything, that's when you start getting phone calls.
When you're in the on fight night hitting pads in the locker room,
Of
you get a
course.
text. What time's the
Oh,
fight?
dude. Yeah, you get that too, I swear. Like, "Hey, you still got tickets?" Like, "Dude, I'm warming up."
Yeah, don't be that guy. Please
Yeah,
don't be that guy.
it
If you're
happens, man.
if you're watching, please don't be that guy.
You know what it
Well,
is too? Most of the time, it's fighters. It's not even, like, people that don't know. It's, like, guys that know exactly how I feel, what I'm doing. It's always fighters.
gosh, that's even worse. Come on, guys. We can do better than that. Well, John, I look forward to watching you perform here on May 24th. And I wanted to give you just kind of like a final moment here. If there's anyone that you need to thank, I know there are sponsors that work with you to make sure that you're supported and have what you need to make these fights happen. But I also know there are other guys that are putting in that time with you in the gym and making sure that you're the best version of you come fight night.
Yeah, yeah. First and foremost, Triforce, Pete Jeffrey, and all my training partners over there. It's my home base. I wouldn't be doing any of this if it wasn't for that place. Coach Vic, he's my boxing coach. He's been in the game forever. He's a real old school type of guy. I love him. I couldn't same deal. Couldn't do this without him. And then all my sponsors, Andiamo, they made my shirts this time. If anybody wants a shirt, I said I'd never do shirts again, but this time I'm doing shirts. My wife convinced me of it, so. $30 if you want to buy one at Triforce. Star Waste Systems, they that's my job over there. They allow me to do what I do on a daily basis. It's who else? Team Turbo Sports and Trisha Cornell. They've been handling my strength regiment. Trisha's been doing my nutrition. So I got a great team behind me. Looking forward to doing it. Thanks, man.
Well, thank you very much for being a guest on the program. I look forward to watching you compete And I wish you the best of skill, and I look forward to having you back very soon, John.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.